Welcome to our podcast, Hiking in Heels, with life coach Teresa and full-time mum and writer Jessica Gandolfi. Hiking through life can sometimes feel like we are literally hiking in our heels.
As women in today's modern world, the pressure to tick all the social boxes is at its peak. Being perfect, being strong, having it all together, the list goes on. Inspired by our own journeys and life struggles, we have come together, and we are on a mission to empower other women to overcome their fears and tap into their greatness.
With special guests and our own personal stories, our aim is to bring light and healing to inspire you to take your life to the next level. As Coco Chanel once said, keep your head, heels, and standards high.
We invite you to kick off your heels, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome back to episode 16. What girl doesn't want to wear a splash of lipstick when she puts on her heels? Today we're so excited to be joined by the lipstick sister herself, Hensi Morris. We were drawn to and inspired by Hensi's mission of creating a space for women to come together by encouraging them to be kind, respectful, supporting, and loving towards one another.
Hensi is a strong believer that women can achieve so much more by working together, and through Lipstick Sister, she has been able to touch many women and help them evolve to their highest potential. Hensi now directs her focus into a new venture, the Clever Woman Club.
So relax, kick off your heels, and enjoy the show.
Hensi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So great of you to be here. So tell us a little bit about Lipstick Sister and where you got the inspiration from for the brand that you've created over the last 7 years.
So Lipstick Sister happened, actually it was more of a personal kind of like search that I was in. I had moved to LA from Mexico City, and it's really hard when you move to a new place, like when you're in your mid-30s and kind of like starting to like rebuild friendships and relationships. And I kind of was in that space where I noticed that a lot of the women that I was meeting, whether it was like at lunches or at parties or anything, everything was always kind of really superficial. And everything always went back to like, so what do you do? Or who do you know? And I think I was in that place where I was like, I really need to try and find... I didn't want to do like a networking group, and I also like I wanted something that was going to be more, like I said, where I could be myself, where I didn't have to always talk about my work, or what I was doing for a living. I always find it so I really don't like when the first question someone asks you when they first meet you, it's like, so what do you do?
Right.
There's like so many other questions that you can ask. And so I started researching like meetup groups and social clubs and all that stuff. And what I realized was that almost everywhere that I went, it was very focused on one particular thing in your life. Like it was either like the Mommy and Me group, which I don't have a baby, or like the Single Girls Club. But again, it's like if I'm married, I don't fit into that group, or the Women Entrepreneurs. So everything was very directed very specifically to one particular aspect of your life. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I didn't want, right? Because I was like, well, who cares? Who cares if I'm married or not, or if I have a baby, or if I'm work for somebody else or anything like that. So through that search and through realizing that as women, we keep doing this, right? We keep sort of like choosing to spend time with each other based on what feels like we have in common at that moment in time. And for me, I'm always in a space where I'm like, I want to always like be learning and growing and evolving. And so for me, it's like, I don't want to hang out with people that like the same things I do, because then it's like, we're just like sitting water. Yeah. Right. It's like, and so I just basically, I went and I sat down and I was sitting in my computer at home, and I was like, I want to create something where we welcome all women, right? From like all ages, all backgrounds, all, industries, like it doesn't matter. But where it's more about accountability as far as like the type of human that you are, right? And the type of woman that you are to other women. Yeah. Because of course, as women, we tend to be super jealous, and insecure and envious and all that. And I really wanted to sort of create a space where we can welcome women that would be here to support each other, to be respectful, to be kind. And that's kind of how like the whole process started. I thought maybe I would have like my little group of like 10 amazing girls that I would hang out with, and it ended up just blowing up. So
because what brought you here? So you're from Mexico City.
Yes.
And what brought you here?
My parents moved us here, not here, to San Diego when I was 12.
Okay, so
and they're still here. Yeah. So my brothers, we all grew up here. Yeah. I went back to Mexico City because I felt like they took me right at that age where I was just starting to like make friends and kind of like have independence.
business.
And so I always had a little itch to move back. And so I had a job opportunity at 30. I moved back. I was there for 6 years. Very involved in like PR, public relations and, the like TV industry and all that. And I think ultimately it came down to like my future, right? Like my parents were here, my brothers were here, my nephews and sister-in-laws were here. And so it was one of those things where my family was just like, what are you doing? So I think if I had a man in my life, or I was like, I had more like future plans to stay there, that would have been okay. Yeah. But because I was still single and all I was doing literally was just working, I think it was one of those things where they were like, well, you can do that here and at least be closer to your family. Yeah. So San Diego for me just never, even though I was there pretty much my entire, from 12 to, 30, it never felt like home to me. I'm a person that needs to be busy constantly and doing things, and I like life, and so, which is funny to say because now I'm in Newport Beach and it's like dormant. So LA felt like a good fit. So I said, let me try LA. If I don't like it, I promise I'll be back in San Diego. And I fell in love with LA. Yeah. Like the first year I was here, it was like I had the perfect combination of like all my favorite places, right? Like a little bit of Mexico City, a little bit of New York, a little bit of San Diego. Like you just mixed. Yeah. And it was like, I clicked. My soul clicked with LA like instantly.
And so making that group then was just the perfect foundation for you. Yeah. So how did you start? So was it your background in PR and marketing that helped you, or did you have other connections?
No, actually, Facebook played a huge part of that back in the day. Yeah. So I had just become very friendly with my friend Leah, who had moved here from St. Louis, and she is in Anaheim Hills and had a 3-month-old baby. Her husband and a guy that I was dating at the time had met in a conference, and her and I became friends right away. And she was in that same space of like how difficult it is to make new friends, right? And especially like in a place like this where there's like, there's new people coming in from everywhere all the time. And for her also as a mom, it's kind of the same thing, right? Like I feel like there's a lot of moms that don't just want to do the mommy and me, because there's so much more to you than just being a mom. Right. Exactly. I'm not a mom, so maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like she was in that space where she also wanted to be surrounded by other women that were just not moms. Yeah. So I kind of like pitched the idea to her at her house one day, and we're literally there sitting like holding our glass of wine, and we're like, oh my god, this is gonna be amazing. So we're like, how do we do it? And I figured, okay, so from the few people that I had met, like girls that I had clicked with at parties or events and stuff like that, I basically just put together a Facebook event. Back then it was open and you had more access to seeing what other people were doing. Yeah. And so basically we just kind of filled out the demographic space, and we just kind of did like a quick snippet of what kind of girls we were like reaching out to and talking to, and we put a ladies lunch together at Asia de Cuba from back in the day. Yeah. It doesn't exist anymore. And we just kind of put it together, and we were like, all right, let's see what happens. And then of course, like everything Facebook, there were like 65 girls that had been like, yes, we're coming. And we had actually 35 girls that showed up to that luncheon, which was shocking.
That's amazing for first starting. Yeah.
And it was actually kind of cool too, because it was one of those things, like I feel like as a girl, if I get invited somewhere, I don't do it now anymore because I'm in a different space, but back then I feel like you always needed like the girlfriend to go with you to a place.
Oh yeah, you need a little sidekick.
Like you don't show up alone to a party.
Woman.
I can't tell you the amount of women that showed up on their own to that luncheon, which was really cool, right? Because and of course a lot of them who again were from somewhere else. They were not, local to LA. And out of the 35, we basically, everybody had, the introduction of kind of like what Lipstick Sister was, and what our idea was and what we wanted to do with it. And then I got up and kind of pitched it, and from the 35 women that joined that lunch, 31 of them signed that day and like became members. Wow. 7.5 years later, out of those 31, I think we still have, I want to say 22 that are still members.
That's amazing.
And some of those have moved back to Europe or, whatever. So we still have a pretty large group of women that literally started with us from the first day.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then of course it's just sort of like evolved as we've gotten to grow and sort of like figured out more the structure of what we were building.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's been amazing. So yeah, definitely more than I had. And then we started opening chapters because girls were reaching out from other cities being like, hey, how do we do this? Like, we want to, recreate it or whatever. So then we have DC and we have Orange County. And
so tell us more about that then. So it's the paid membership. So you joined to be a member.
Yes.
And then what does that get you and what do you...
So basically, the first 6 months of it, we didn't have a membership just because at that point, like I said, Leah and I were sort of like, oh, we're going to have 10 amazing girls that, we're going to hang out with. And then when we had the 31, we were like, wow. Now we have like at least this first 31 women, which is a lot of women that are now depending on us to kind of really create that space of making sure that we're all being like accountable for, the way that we treat each other and the way that we behave, and making sure that we're supporting each other in whatever endeavor we're in that moment in life. So at that point I was like, okay, we really need to structure this. So then I started going back to researching clubs, and more like the Beverly Hills Women's Club and like legit organizations that are already in place, that have been in place forever. And I noticed most of them charge a membership fee.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, that's important. More so because I feel like you always put more, it's important for you to always invest in yourself. And I feel like you are always more committed when you've invested into something anyway.
True, yeah.
So then that's when we decided to implement a membership fee. And then, like I said, just through the process, we were like, okay, well, we need a formal application. And, we probably want to make sure that there's always the reminder of why we're here, and that we made a commitment to be respectful and kind and thoughtful, of each other. And so then we created the, non-disclosure agreement, because a lot of the girls were also sharing, stuff about their personal life that they were going through, or, maybe new business ideas or anything like that. So we're like, okay, we want to make sure they feel safe to share. So we did the non-disclosure. Then we were like, okay, well, let's do the code of conduct to, like I said, always kind of remind ourselves that, there's a certain expectation of how we need to behave. And it just kind of went like that. So the membership basically is, we do a ladies' luncheon the last Sunday of every month. That's for every chapter. The membership is open to every chapter. So the cool thing about it too is that a lot of our members that are traveling, especially from LA, that go to New York a lot, or DC, we basically connect them with the whole team over there. So now they go, if they're traveling alone, well, now they have a bunch of girls that they can take out for dinner, or, breakfast or coffee or whatever. And then we do the luncheons. We always select sister dates. So everybody that participates in the luncheon has to put their name in like a little cup, and then we all draw names. And so basically you get 2 dates that you have to go to from that luncheon to the next lunch. And we did them that way because I kind of wanted to. I noticed at the beginning that it was like sort of very easy for the girls to kind of like gravitate towards, towards like what felt like safe or similar. And I kind of wanted to put them out of that place. So then, for example, we're always like, okay, we'll sit next to somebody that you haven't met yet. If you do show up with a friend, don't sit with your friend. And then the days where we're like, let's do random dates so that they actually kind of are forced a little bit to sit down and spend an hour with a total stranger. Because you never know. And through that process, that I want to say that has probably been our most successful tool, because almost out of all the dates, we always get the feedback of like, wow, that was amazing. And she's incredible. And I just met my new best friend, or, like, this is going to be my business partner,
so
or like,
cool.
So the one-on-one dates. And I always tell the girls, I'm like, it's not like a group date. It's not a double date. Like just go alone. And yes, it's uncomfortable and maybe you're nervous, but
because even though they don't know each other, they still have the common thread between you and the club. So something brought them to that in the first place.
And you never know why the universe puts people in front of you for any reason. So then they get the luncheon, they get the 2 dates. And then obviously, every chapter has a WhatsApp chat where the girls are connected all day long. Cool. And amazing. I mean, it's one of those things that, for me, just me being obviously the main example because I'm here, like, not only have I met some of my best friends, but I've met my husband through one of Lipstick Sisters. I got my dog through a Lipstick Sisters. Like, if I think of the amount of like things within my life right now that have happened, how much Lipstick Sister has been a part of it is insanity. Like, it's just, and I feel it's been that way for almost all of our members. So
oh, that's so beautiful.
So it's been really great.
So which cities do you have the chapters in?
So LA, DC, and Orange County are our biggest chapters. We had San Diego and New York, which we've decided this year to not continue those anymore. Right. it's really not beneficial for us to have a chapter that's smaller than 20 members.
Right.
Because then you're just hanging out with the same people.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Who runs the chapters? Do you
so we select
yourself?
Team leaders, yeah.
So
I still try to be within all
New
of
York and I want to open a chapter. So you handpick them.
Yes.
And then you have like a program, a system, so you all work off the same.
So if we do open a chapter is, I select the first 20. So what we have is the first 20 members is what we call our founding members. Our founding members usually start in a different fee just because it's a brand new chapter.
Yeah. Sure.
We don't know if it's going to hit or not. Every chapter, even though the guidelines and the rules and the module is the same for every chapter, every city is different, right? So the team itself and the interaction is going to be very much based on, that particular city, right? The lifestyle and all of that. So we don't want to like jump straight into the 450 a year if we're not sure if the chapter's even going to survive. So unfortunately, that's what's been happening with New York and DC. That I feel like, shame. I know it's shocking, especially San Diego. It was very, very shocking because we figured we would have a huge audience for that, but we just could never get them to 20. Or keep that consistent number. And at the end of the day, like I said, my goal was never, I didn't have a map in my office and I was like clicking little things and like, I'm going to conquer the world, So the chapters have to be organic and it has to be because there's an audience for it, right? Like we have the girls that are looking for us and they're looking to sort of like create this space in their life. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't. Like it's not a big deal. So this year we decided that we're going to not continue with San Diego and New York, so we're just going to keep Orange County, LA, and DC for now. And we have a lot. I mean, I have women that reach out from, I have a ton in San Francisco, a ton in Dallas and Houston, Atlanta, some in Chicago. But again, like it's sort of, for me, it means I need to travel more because if I'm not present the first year, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then the team leaders really have to have my voice and my vision and be really well versed into communicating who we are. And if that doesn't happen, then it doesn't work. So I also try not to put myself in a position where I'm going to have to be traveling constantly just to be like in multiple chapters. So we just kind of let it be. If it's meant to be, it's going to happen. So
So what makes the perfect lipstick sister? What do you look for? Because you interview all of your...
Yes, we interview everybody, absolutely. For me, I feel like what I've noticed is it's how important people react in person, right? Like it's how sort of... Like I'm a very warm, touchy person. I get that not everybody's like that. But I still do look for girls that are in a space where they're not gonna get offended by any question that I may ask. I can't tell you how many girls I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing, and they almost jump when I touch them. And I'm like, okay, sorry. Or I'll ask a question and be like, well, what do you need to know that? Well, how is that relevant? Well, what, right? So it's like, so it's important for me to sit down with them that hour just to see how quickly they respond, how easily they laugh, how they respond again to touch and kind of like that, like intimate interaction. It's important because that's who we are. If you go to our lunches, we have gone to that place where we're very affectionate. We're very much in love with each other because we've gone through anything that you can think of, especially like I said, the girls that have been with us for 7 years, that's 7 years of their life. So, and even though it's really, the luncheon and the 2 dates, we still always try to like support each other and everything. So if somebody's having an event or somebody has a birthday, but you still get invited to a lot of stuff. So your social circle or your calendar really does grow. And so we are a very, very close group of women. And so if I'm sitting in an interview with somebody that, like I said, is not open to really sharing and sort of like being in a space of like security and happiness and joy, then they're definitely not going to fit into the space. What's going to happen is they're going to feel
they're going to feel
uncomfortable. And then so meeting like I said, it's the interview, quote unquote, it's really that. It's just to see how comfortable they are with who they are in that moment in life, where they've been, where they've gone. And of course, we all want to grow and continue to succeed and do different things. But you should be very happy with where you are in life. If you're still sort of like you have a lot of like regret, or you're still like trying to be somebody else, or you're still trying to figure out who you are, this is not, you're not going to fit in because you're going to get triggered. Right. And then that's when drama and chaos So,
which is what you stay away from, because
absolutely, it's like absolutely zero tolerance for like, so.
And then you send them an invitation. I heard
and
about
then
these
if they're great, if there was like a great interview and we totally clicked, we'll send them an invitation to join with the application and all the forms. And what I actually really love about it is when we created the WhatsApp chats, because we were like, well, we want to make sure that they're still being connected on a daily basis if they have to, so that so that we don't create that sort of like that awkward gap in between every luncheon and all that. So the WhatsApp chat has been amazing. What we started doing a couple of years back was, at the beginning, our first year, we were like, wait to introduce them when they came to their first lunch. And as we kept growing, especially in LA, because we started with 31, as we were like at 40, again, we go back to that walking in by yourself to a group of, a lot of women that have already sort of been connecting and know each other and all that stuff. And so what we did was we ended up doing the first introduction through the WhatsApp chat.
Right.
And so getting them at that point to where they at least were...
Yeah.
Right, you're not attaching a face with a name just yet, but at least you're communicating, you're sharing stuff. A lot of the times they meet up for coffee or a drink or something with some of the girls, or attend an event before so by the time the luncheon comes, it's more like easy to walk in there. For me, what I love the most was, I remember the first time that I did an introduction through WhatsApp. All of a sudden you had all these girls that were like, oh my God, welcome, we can't wait to meet you, that's amazing, where do you live, if you're here I'll come and get, like boom boom boom. And I loved it because I remember all I said was like, oh, welcome Tina to our, family, whatever. I never used her last name. I didn't say what she did for a living. I didn't say who referred. They didn't know anything about this girl other than the fact that she was like our new member. And already just the warm welcome and the amount of just like the women just reaching out and being so happy. And that to me, I was like, see? Yeah. I'm like, this is why. This is why we are who we are, totally.
And age, if there's no, because somebody that might be listening might think, oh God, it's not.
No, we've had, at one point our oldest was 62, our youngest was 24. Yeah. I want to say right now we're between 26 and 50.
There's a real diversity in cross-section.
Which has been amazing because even for us from the beginning, like I remember, like I said, this is why it was so important for me that it wasn't based on one particular thing because, like I've seen, for example, like the beginning we had our moms, right? And we had all our like boss babes that were like, I'm never having a baby, like I'm going to conquer the world. And then of course that didn't happen. They did conquer the world, but they still got married and they were getting pregnant. And now the moms who back then they were just like, well, I'm just a mom, but you're amazing. Like, tell me more. I want to hear all your crazy, I'm going to rule the world kind of thing. And then all of a sudden these girls, because it kind of happened where everybody started getting married at the same time, and then everybody was getting pregnant at the same time. And now you had all these like big, like boss babe, whatever. Now they're pregnant, and now they're going to the moms and be like, how do you do that? How do I do what? And what happens when, right? And now the moms were like all of a sudden empowered, and they were the ones that were giving advice and support and everything. And and then you go through divorce, and now you have. So it's really because we have such a diversified group. Yeah. There's always somebody that you click with in that moment in time, right? There's somebody that's going through whatever you're going to in the moment in time. Yeah. Which I remember I did an interview with one of our members who's been a member for 5 years, and I remember she had, when I first met her, and it wasn't for Lipstick Sister, it was for something else, and I remember that she said, oh yeah, I've heard about your group, and she's like, oh, I have the most amazing group of girlfriends, like I don't need more girlfriends. And I said, well, it's actually not about that. I'm like, I have amazing girlfriends that I love, that I've known my whole life. I said, it's hard to explain because until you're in it, like you just don't get it, right? And it's not just about like making girlfriends. And I remember like 3 years later, I saw the process of like, she got married and she got pregnant, and then she reached out to me and she's like, can we sit down and talk about Lipstick Sister? And I was like, of course. So we had the lunch, and she's like, well, she's like, now that I'm a mom and that I got married, she's like, my friends have sort of, because they still haven't gotten married and none of them have kids, she's like, so I sort of don't fit anymore, right? She's like, as soon as I got married, they kind of took a step back. So they stopped inviting me places when they were all going out for single girls, whatever, because they thought, well, you're married, you don't need to be out getting drunk with a bunch of girls. And then she got pregnant, and she's like, and it literally now has come where I have nothing in common, or they feel like they have nothing in common with me, and they literally just stopped inviting me places. And I was like, and I'm like, that's precisely the point. Like, we don't have that here, right? Because again, if you're single, there's a single girls. If you're married, there's married girls. If you're a mom, there's moms. If you're an entrepreneur, there's an entrepreneur networking. So we have everything. So you're never going to have that part of your life where you feel like you just disconnected completely because of where you are in your life at that moment.
It's almost like a one-stop shop for empowerment and supporting each other.
And I love too, because it seems like you've created this really special place with women who all have the same values.
Right.
So it's like you're being attracted or connected because you all have the same values, which is like really kind of hard to find sometimes. And so it's like you just, like you said, the women don't even know some of the new people that come in, but they know because of what you've created in the interviewing process that they value the same things. And so it's just like it already feels like everyone's already connected.
Yeah, that's been, and it's funny because like I see these past 2 years and all of a sudden through like the Me Too and the whole deal with Trump and women all of a sudden like feeling like they need to stand up for themselves, it's like all of a sudden people are acting like this is a new thing, and I'm like, it's not a new thing. Women empowering women and women supporting women is not new. Like, and I kind of hate the fact that it took something so drastic of so many women having to feel like they had to stand up for, again, pay equality and this, because it shouldn't be about that anyway. Like we should be supporting each other regardless of any of the stuff that has come up. This isn't anything new. Like, it's like I said, we've been doing this, 7.5 years. And like for me, I don't think that there should be anything, for example, competition for us is not like, it's not even a word that we use within our group, right? Because it's like, there's no such thing as competing, right? At the end of the day, we're all unique. We all have a unique voice. Our process will always be different. Even if you're doing the same thing for a living as far as a job, there's still no competition because you're two completely different humans with two completely different ways of doing things and thinking. So come together. Like, don't use your strengths. Just like figure out what you're awesome at and figure out what she's awesome, and then just like put that together. So yeah, I mean, I feel like women empowerment should, for me personally, like I said, it should really be about that, about like being very respectful and kind and supportive of other women regardless of anything.
The situation, the background.
Yeah. It's so needed too to have like just even creating the space and having that option once a month, like it's just so important. Like we were kind of saying, like there's not enough of this work out there, so it's exciting to be able to collaborate and connect with other women that have the same idea
and balance. Because the one thing that I notice, for example, right now with the youth, right, like I see all these girls that are like 23, right, they just finished college. I mean, these girls are kicking butt faster than anybody in my generation ever did. Like you weren't doing anything at least until you were like 30, maybe 35. These girls at 23, 25, they're already like blowing it out of proportion, right? Like I'm always like, I meet with these girls and I'm always like, what are you gonna do at 30?
Yeah.
Like what's gonna be retirement, right? Like I mean, it's like, oh my God. The only problem I see, for example, is that I see them so focused in one specific thing, which is again the whole boss babe thing and the entrepreneurial aspect of it. And the one thing that I remember when we all got together with Lipstick Sister was the first thing we all said was, God, I wish I had this in my 20s. Yeah. If I had women in my early 20s that I could reach out to for support, not just like, again, not just in the business aspect. Yes, of course, we have a lot of women that can give business advice, but in the emotional support, right? In the mental support, and that there's like, again, it's like you become so focused on that one thing that you want that so many other aspects of your life start falling apart that by the time they get to 30, it's like, yeah, they made a ton of money and yeah, their Instagram is blowing up and but then there's other aspects of their life that they haven't focused on and put any attention or care into. And then those are the really like the personal places are the really hard ones to touch the older that you get. So I feel like for the girls that are like 23, like that's my first advice is join an organization where you're not just sitting down with a bunch of boss babes and all you're talking about is how to rule the world. Like join an organization where you have someone that, if you're having problems with your boyfriend, you have somebody to talk to. If you're having problems with yourself, whether it's, you're having issues with, I don't know, maybe, how you feel about you, right? Or self-esteem or anything like that. There's people to talk about that. If you like go to a place where you don't have to just necessarily call your mom, right? It's like you have variations of like an older sister and a mom, and you know, so I think organizations like this for this younger group that I see right now is super important. So that's I feel like where maybe next year we're going to start gearing it a little bit more towards bringing in a younger generation that can actually benefit from having an adult group of friends that has been there, done that.
What's that? Mentors.
Exactly.
To
it's
help
so
them
cool.
navigate the system.
Well, and I like how you said like balance, because you can be so focused on your career and like ruling the world that other stuff does fall by the wayside, and like getting that sense of balance and knowing that your strength and your success actually comes from you having harmony and balance from your relationships, from you know, I think we kind of forget that because we, like you said, we get so focused on this like one thing, but life is about finding that balance and rhythm, you know, to help you. So to have a space to connect with women and your lifelong friends that you're creating is just, that's really amazing. And it feels like very powerful too, because it's like bringing the best out of everyone, and providing them the space for the support, and it's really, really beautiful. I love it.
You should have one in London.
I actually went to London because we talked about that, and I met with 3 girls in London, and one of our new team leaders for the LA chapter is very well connected in London, and I remember that she's like, I'll go there and I'll set it all up, and I'm like,
it's needed. I tell you, I'm listening to you thinking, I have a handful of people that would just be, they need it, you know, different ages, different situations.
Like I said, as long as we have an audience, like I said, it's really important. If we can get at least 10 women on board for that first year, I mean, we could do something incredible. So amazing.
But also, so you're moving on to Pastures New. You have a new project coming out. I'm so excited about this. Tell us about.
I feel like last year I was in a place where, again, I've been doing this for 7.5 years, and again, I love it. It's my heart and soul, and every single one of my members has like a little, I always call them, they're like my little molecules. Like I'm literally like built with all of them and me. But I was really looking to do something a little different. And the book kind of started because, again, Lipstick Sister happened in that sense where I just tapped a market and I listened to my environment and what was happening around me. And this is kind of how it happened as well. I remember I hadn't grabbed a book, I'm not even kidding, in like an official sit-down book in like maybe a little bit over a year. And I remember I grabbed it and I was having trouble reading it. Right. And at first I'm like, am I having a stroke? I'm like, I've been speaking Spanish for 3 days and I'm trying to learn my English. And I just realized I haven't actually read a book in so long that I felt like I had to retrain my brain and my eyesight to do that. Right. And I was like, I can't do that. I'm like, I need to do this more. Like, I need to read more. Yeah. And then also I was like, okay, I started getting back into reading because of that. And then also because I was like, I want to disconnect, right? I want to do something. And just to sit, I try to meditate and I go to meditation classes and, you know, I've been incorporating meditation into my life for many, many years. But there was something sort of very kind of like nostalgic and cozy about like sitting in a corner and grabbing a book. And we live right on the ocean. So for me, it's like I have the sound of the waves and, you know, I'm looking at the ocean and I'm having, you know, a glass of wine in my book. And like the whole picture of that, I was like, this is really beautiful. Like more people need to do that. And I feel like there's so many women that are almost like scared of books or like get super turned off because they're not, I can't tell you how many women like, oh, but I don't read, or I'm not a reader.
Having time as well, because that is a beautiful picture that you just painted, but to have that, or telling ourselves.
And this is my biggest, what do you call it? Pet peeve? Pet peeve? Is people that say, I don't have time.
Make time.
The one thing my mother has always told me, she's like, if you don't have time, she's like, oh, every time I say like, oh, I just don't have time, the first thing she'll do, she'll be like, reward that. I don't want to make time, right? And every time I'm like, God. You're like, right.
She's still right.
Okay. She's like, you have the luxury of managing your own time because you don't have to go to a 9-to-5 office and all of that. She's like, and you have control over your calendar and you do. She's like, so you saying I don't have time, all I hear is I don't want to make time for you, right? And that always hits me because I'm always like, gosh, she's so right, because she's right. I mean, everybody can make time, right? Like saying I'm so busy or I have too much going on or I just don't have time, it's 100% on us, right? So I feel like it's just sort of making that effort, like everything. I mean, you have to pee, you go pee, right? It's like you don't like you have time to go pee, like then you have time to maybe say like 20 minutes. I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna read 2 chapters really quick. Right. Well, it doesn't matter. Just make time for yourself. Like you're not giving the time to anybody else. It's time for yourself. If you cannot give yourself an hour of your own day to you need to start all the way back. You need to go all the way back and figure out what you're doing wrong in your life that you can't give yourself an hour a day for you.
Well, the 16 waking hours in the day, you can do a lot of stuff in 16 hours.
Absolutely. And it's about having that self-respect and self-care, like you said, to be conscious enough with creating a schedule that's going to allow that space and time to support yourself, to make sure that you're healthy, and then you show up better with everyone else.
Absolutely. It's so important. You wake up in the morning and it's like, instead of grabbing your phone and sitting in bed for 20 minutes going through like Instagram and Facebook and your emails, grab a book. Grab a book, sit in bed and quiet, just like read a book, and then get up and shower and go on with your day. Like everybody has time. So anyway, the book for me just came in that sense that I was like, what a beautiful moment to spend alone, right? Which is, for me, was like I was learning something new. I was being challenged, intellectually. I was laughing, I was like interact. So it's like, it was almost like watching TV, but obviously in a different space. And so that kind of brought me back into how much I actually really enjoy reading. And then again, like that, I ended up sitting down with a friend who had just written a book, and we were talking just about the whole process. And she kind of brought the, how you spend, they spend all this time writing and rewriting, and, the draft and the second draft. And, it's this thing that they pour their heart and soul into. And I mean, some of our writers have been working on this for 10 years, and it's finally out. Yeah. And then it's like, it's finally out, and now they're sitting in the corner of a stuffy, like, Barnes & Noble, behind a desk, just like sitting there going like, okay, let's see who shows up, and there's no guarantee of sales. Like they never know how many people may show up. And so after that lunch and that conversation, I remember I got in the car and I was like, I'm like, for me, I have a girlfriend that has had a book club for 10 years. She's invited me a gazillion amount of times. I've tried it maybe 2 or 3 times. It's just, I'm not a book club person. Like, I need more interaction. And so that's when I got in the car and I was like, maybe that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a book club that's more geared towards the actual authors, to give them a better space for them to talk about their book and actually get them excited to talk about their book, instead of just going to a library or a Barnes & Noble. And so the process started with that. And then, once I started reaching out to authors, and they were so happy and so excited about it, and they thought the idea was so great, then that's when I started like talking to my girlfriends that do like to read. Because I was like, if you were reading a book, I said, but then you also knew that you had an opportunity to meet the author, would that not be so much better? And they were like, oh my God, that would be incredible. Yeah. But how are you going to get the authors there? And I was like, well, maybe we focus on like, not only female authors, but like local authors, California-based authors, then they're here already. Like, we're giving them the space. We're, pre-buying the book. Yeah. So that kind of how it all worked out. And so... So now that's my new...
What did you call the Clever Woman?
Clever Woman Club, yeah. At first I was like, maybe we'll call like Smart Girl Club or Smart Girls. And I realized that, the word smart, not everybody feels smart. I even know people that are smart that don't feel smart. Yeah. And I know people that are not smart that feel smart. So, so I didn't want to use the word smart because I feel like it could be... especially for somebody that doesn't feel smart, whether they are or not, it can be sort of like a deterrent, or it could be something that triggers them. And I felt like clever is kind of like sassy, right? It's like, clever is fun, right? Clever means intelligent, but it also means you're quick, right? Yeah. You're quick and you get things and you come up with ideas. Like, so clever just seemed to be a word that more women would identify with than smart. Yeah. Or that it wouldn't be sort of like a put down, maybe, if somebody was like, well, what if you're not smart? You have to be careful with everything. There's always somebody that has something negative to say, but still. So clever just felt like a better word. And then we did the logo based on, when we're trying to create the logo of what we wanted to sort of that clever woman to represent. I ran into the Rosie the Riveter, and I was like, oh, maybe that would be cool, right? Because that's the whole of women of like, yes, you can, and empowering women back in the day to, to the working industry, and I was like, maybe that's what we're doing, right? We're trying to get women back into reading, so it's sort of like empowering them back into, yes, you can do this, and yes, you have time, and
So membership based again, like Lipstick Sister.
Membership based. The reason why we did that is because for me, like I said, everything starts from, it's like the first impressions, right? It's like if you walked into, I always say this, if you walk into the gym and the receptionist is 300 pounds, it's like you're walking into a gym because you're trying to, right? So it's like it's like creating the whole idea of what you're just getting into. And I wanted it to be where, like, if they go and they buy their own book, then it just comes from Amazon or from wherever else, and they get the book. Like, I really wanted it to be that where we have control over the whole experience. Because also some of the authors have said that there's no guarantee of sales at their book signing anyway. I was like, well, what if we pre-buy the books? That way the sale is guaranteed. Then we have the book, we have control of how the book ships out, so we want to make sure that we ship the book out in a really beautiful package. Like I said, everything is from the second they get the book, there should be that experience of the excitement and what they're about to embark on. And so we chose to do that. So they get the book from us, we ship the book. A lot of our authors, because we also didn't want to make it, like I said, we didn't want girls that don't read to be afraid of joining because they feel like they can't commit. And so we really wanted to select the first 10 books to be a little variation of everything. And also from like easy reading to like really elaborate reading. Yeah. And so, for example, we picked 2 books that are very small books, and they're sort of like very quick to the point kind of books. So we didn't want the girls to just be like, oh, that's it. So these books actually, like, one of them is she's the editor-in-chief of Alegria magazine as well, and she just started like her own little collection of like candles and perfume and scents, and she just partnered up with Spiritu, which is like one of the boxes and subscription boxes, and I was like, okay, well, great, then let's add that's so much part of who you are as well. And again, the whole point is we're talking about the author, not necessarily the book. So then the books that don't, like I said, that are not maybe like novels or like big reading materials, like we have another one that she's a huge like beauty guru. We're going to incorporate beauty samples with with her book. And then we have another girl that just coined or author that just coined the term shop fiction. So what she actually did is throughout her book, she talks a lot about what the character is wearing. Like if she walked out in the morning in her PJs, or if she walked into like whatever, wearing this blah, blah, blah dress. And then so what she did is she partnered up with brands or local boutiques. And then there's a link that you can click on everything that she wears, and you can see a photo of it. And then whatever. So for that, we're going to include like discount cards with her book to those particular shops. So again, it's not going to be just getting a book. It's like we want to make it sort of like fun and exciting. And even for the women that maybe they'll get the book and they won't read it, but maybe they'll go to the book signing. Yeah. And, the book signing, I wanted it to be also where I'm going to sit down with the author in an interview process, right? Like we want to talk about her, where she comes from, who she is really, how she feels about, current affairs and, struggles and successes and all that. And then we'll dive into the book a little bit. So, because like I said, I really want the women to connect with the author, to create that relationship where, a lot of our authors have written multiple books, or we have authors that just wrote a book, but they're already on the second book. So we want to create that relationship with the audience and the author so that they continue to follow them, continue to read their books. And I feel like by talking to the author about who she is as a woman, it's so much more relatable, right? Exactly. So even if somebody didn't read the book, maybe they'll go to the book signing and it was so amazing and they connected so much that they'll get in the car and be like, I have to go home and read a book. Exactly. Like the reversal. Yeah. So that's basically what I wanted to do. I kind of wanted to create something that would really be attractive to non-readers and readers alike. So
I love that. And how special of a place that you're creating for these women, these authors that are excited to share their work,
They're so excited.
And now they get to. And I think about any project I've ever worked on, like you just want to share it with somebody and you don't know where to start or where to go, and to already have like a little like support group for them to be able to share it. And I think that's it's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah. Now we just need to get subscribers.
So is it launched now, or is that
so it's open. So we're going to send out the press release to the media and everything the second week of January. But as of right now, Yes, you can go on the website, you can subscribe on the website. So yeah, it's ready to go basically now. Like I said, we have selected our first 10 authors for the year. We hosted an author's brunch last week at Cicconi's to kind of like, I also wanted them to meet. Right. And that's been really great too, because, you know, now, for example, like I said, one has a magazine, one has a TV show. Now they've been like interviewing and featured. So it's like now they're all in that space of supporting one another, which again, that's 100% what I'm all about all the time. I feel like anything new that I start will always be geared towards connecting women and getting women to work together and be in a space of support. So they're already in that space of supporting each other and reading each other's books and, you know, networking in any capacity that they can. So now, yeah, it's open. Now we just have to, once we figure out how many subscribers we have by the end of January, we'll mail out the first book and get started.
Oh, I just love this. This is so cool.
And now I've been reading a lot. I've been literally reading a lot. So, but it's good.
And all different genres of books.
Everything.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. Like I said, and we have one of my favorite books from this coming year is Autumn Chicklets, and I remember I got the book and I was reading and I was just laughing hysterically in bed, and my husband comes in the room and he's like, "What are you watching?" And I've had the TV off and I'm like, I'm reading this book. I'm like, it's amazing. I'm like, it's so funny. And he's like, I can hear you laughing in my office. And when I met with her, I remember that I told her, I said, you know what? I'm like, this is a movie. Like, as I'm reading the book, I'm telling you, I'm seeing the movie. And she's like, well, little secret. She's like, you know, we're talking about maybe like turning it into a series. And I was like, absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
So we have really cool, we have cool, fun books that I'm pretty sure we'll end up turning into a movie, or if they not have been a movie already in the past. And, you know, we have reality TV stars and we have doctors and we have, you know, again, self-help. And so, so we want to, like I said, I want to sort of like make sure that we're speaking to everyone in some way or another. Mm-hmm. And I think the good part about being in the subscription is that we're kind of not giving you an option of like, if you want to read it or not, whatever. But at least, you know, the book is coming to you. You're going to get it. Yeah. It's going to be there. Maybe if you're not the type that reads a bunch of like self-help stuff, or if you don't really care for manifesting,
gift it to somebody
whatever,
else.
You know, or even that, like they'll still maybe want to come and go to the talk, right? Go to the book signing. Right now, everything is about, you know, women are attending all these, you know, one-day panel shops where there's like, you know, 6 panelists and they're all talking about, you know, social media and how to succeed and how to do this or not. So I think hopefully maybe just the fact that they get to meet somebody might entice them to, and then, like I said, they'll go back and read the book. But if not, gift it and make somebody else happy.
So cool. I just love all of this. Well, and I feel like this can be like, then people can donate their books to charity, or like then there's like a whole other thing that could be happening.
Yeah. Well, I remember I was walking through New York one time, and there was this like super old bookstore, and it had just like a bunch of used books and all that. And I remember there was one book that I opened, and I highlight all my books. Like I highlight and I make notes, and because I always go back and kind of like just go straight to what I highlighted, just to remember why that said something. And I opened this book and I saw it, and I was like, how amazing that is. There's this book, and it was a really old book, that just has like so much life, right? Because it's not just now the book itself, what's written in it, but now it's somebody else's perspective into it, right? Like how they like interpreted what that book said. And I just thought it was so cool. And so I kind of wanted to do that too, where I felt like anybody that wants to donate the books back at the end of the year, and we'll donate the books, you know, back to Girls Inc. or one of the women have suggested maybe doing it to like a women's prison, because you know they have a lot of time to read. So that's where we're at, is like maybe collecting the books back and just kind of putting all that life and all that energy and the insight of everybody into that particular book, and you know, see if makes an impact on somebody else's life.
And how inspiring would that be? You know, if you're in prison for whatever reason, and then you get to receive all these books, you have all this time to want to make yourself better. So when you're coming out,
and now you have a book that's signed by the author, and so I think it would be a really beautiful gift to do at the end of the year. Again, they don't have to. Whoever wants to can do that. So, and then we're gonna do at the end of the year, we're gonna do a raffle where whoever wins gets to go on a lunch date, you know, on us with their favorite author. And then we're going to do a review to see who thought, who was better author, who was best, what was the best book.
Yeah.
And then,
That's cool.
just to...
That's phenomenal.
So we're just trying to make it fun.
Yeah, I love it. It's so creative.
Getting you out of the living room and,
That's it. Back into reading, back into expanding the mind, the imagination, just coming from different places.
Absolutely. So, so that's where we're at.
Amazing work. I love all that you're doing. It's
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
So we always ask our guests, specific charities that they are involved in or that they like to donate to, because we always want to learn and just share that with everybody. So is there a specific charity that you like or that you talk about or connect with?
So of course for us through Lipstick Sister, we go back to the whole purpose of helping each other. One of our members, and who's also a team leader from our DC chapter, started Becky's Fund, I want to say 10 years ago. And she's completely dedicated and committed to this. This is her full-time everything. She's been very successful, and it's, it's domestic violence survivors and all that. So we've been supporting that obviously from the beginning, because that's what she had.
And that was kind of interesting when I looked at that, because it wasn't so much, it's about obviously the domestic violence, but also about from the male perspective.
Yes.
And about how educating the men, the boys of today, how to treat women, how to respect women.
What's okay, what's not okay.
Exactly. And that was a different twist, which I thought was really quite
and she's done a great job with partnering up with like the NFL and organizations like that, where the men have donated the time to she does a fundraiser that's called Men of Code, and they do fashion shows and all that. And I think that for me was also sort of like the thing that really attracted me, is that she's always in a space of making sure that men are being educated into the way that they should treat women, and that the women that they are sort of rescuing and helping out of situations like that are being empowered by giving them the tools of like education and all that, so that they can actually make something of themselves and not be so afraid of leaving, because a lot of the women won't leave just because they're like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? So it's a really beautiful organization that we love. And then last year, another one of our members from our LA chapter, who's also our team leader, Sandra, started Compassion with Action. A couple of the girls from the LA chapter have been going to an orphanage in Tijuana for the past 4 or 5 years. And they go and spend the day there. And then last year they were like, the conditions of the orphanage were so bad that they decided to do a fundraiser. I think they got $5,000, and then they went back and rebuilt a whole playroom for the girls. And then this past year in September, we did another one, and then went back and redid, the playroom for the boys. And that's one of the things that, they're really committed and really dedicated to just giving that space to the orphan children that, like I said, they're just really needy for just that like human interaction with somebody else other than the people that they see on a daily basis. So those are two that we really, like I said, we're very committed to. I mean, anything that you give back to,
that's it.
It's
balance, isn't it? Giving
absolutely.
And receiving in equal measure.
Absolutely.
It's how you
And I'm big on like random acts of kindness. My husband and I are very good about always giving back in any way. Like, we don't need to belong to a specific charity. We're always helping the people around us. I mean, my husband's amazing like that. I think the other day he saw a homeless person and his bike was broken and he couldn't move, and he went back to the house, got cash, came back out and gave him money. He said, go fix your bike. And then the next day, or a couple of weeks later, I came back and I saw there was a note stuck to like our front door. And it said, this from the guy on the bike. Thank you, you made a huge difference. So we're always trying to do, little things like that on a daily basis. Like I said, it's important to give back in any way that you can, whether it's, again, belonging to a specific organization. I personally feel like the big organizations already have so much help that I think that joining smaller organizations that are just trying to sort of like get off the ground, or again, just if you see someone in the corner, just, help them out.
That's awesome. So where can we find, if someone wants to become a part of Lipstick Sisters or part of the Clever Women's Book Club, where can we find you?
So Lipstick Sister, there's you can submit like an inquiry on the website, and then that'll get filtered, and we'll reach out and set up a time for the meeting depending on the chapter, and that's lipsticksister.com. And then for Clever Woman is Clever Woman Club, and it's woman single singular.com, and the same, there's like a subscription page where they can fill out the form and everything, and then we'll reach out to them, and
and they can do both.
They can do
both.
They
feel called to
do both. I know, like, how cool is this? There's 2 things you can do.
4 lipstick sisters for the membership, the $450 a year that the membership pays, that is not going to include free access to Clever Woman Club.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, that's so smart. I love that.
Yeah, so we can kind of So that's
very cool.
That's my story.
Amazing.
Yes.
So inspirational. Clearly, you're just a facilitator for all of these incredible things. These ideas come to you, and they're there because they know that you're the person to do something with them. Clearly.
Yeah. I'm like, so we'll see how it goes. But thank you for the support. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah,
this has been great. Thanks for tuning in today. We're so grateful for your support. If you're loving our episodes, we would love it if you head over to iTunes, SoundCloud, or YouTube and leave us a review. You can connect with us on Facebook in our Hiking in Heels Facebook group. You can follow us on Instagram. And also, if you want to learn more about our guests, you could visit our website, hikinginheels.com. It's HEALS. You can check out our charities page as well to learn how you can support all the charities that we discuss on the show. So thanks again for listening.